What is up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very exciting video planned for you guys. I'm actually going to be doing this beautiful fall glam look while telling you some of the scariest ghost stories I have ever experienced. So if you love spooky stories, if you love spectacular, spookalicious, Halloweenish, creepy-ish, fallish, I don't have lipstick on my teeth stories, then you need to keep watching. If you have not hit that subscribe button yet, please go ahead and do so. Please and thank you. And we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this video. It's almost nighttime and I'm not really sure how the lighting is gonna work out. Like, I've got my ring light here, I have a light above me that I haven't turned on yet. So I'm hoping that it's okay, but if it's not, then I apologize, but we're gonna do the best that we can. The first story that I have for you guys is a story when I was really little. I think I was like 3 years old. I was a really good baby, so my parents really never had issues out of me. And so, like I said, when I was about 3 years old, I just all of a sudden started waking up in the middle of the night, screaming, crying. There was one night in particular that I woke up in the middle of the night just screaming, crying, like terrified. I couldn't control myself, like it was unbearable. And so, of course, my parents rushed into my bedroom and, you know, was like, Sydney, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I told them, I was like, there's a man in my room. There was no one there. And so this continued to happen over and over and over and over again, night after night, until, gosh, maybe a month or so, maybe 3 weeks. And my grandfather had actually passed away right before I was born, or like a couple years before I was born. And so my mom was convinced that my papa had been visiting me. The reason that she thought that is I described him as a man in the hat, and my papa had this particular hat that he used to wear all the time. So my mom calls my grandmother and she says, I think that Ralph is coming to visit Sydney, and I know that he means well, but he's scaring her to death. And so he had this special chair in the living room, and he would just always sit in that chair. And so my grandmother sat down in that chair and talked to Ralph and, you know, just said, you know, Ralph, if this is you visiting Sydney, you know, I know that you mean well, but you're scaring her to death. And it never happened again. The next story happened approximately when I was in about middle school. I had one of my friends over and we were cleaning my room, just picking up some of the toys and stuff we had used or played with. And I had placed this pen, like a click pen, on top of this like 3 foot tall bookshelf. And whenever we bent back down to pick something up, the pen shot off the bookshelf at her and went right under the bed. So there was a good probably 4 feet between her and this bookshelf, and the pen literally flew right off the top of the bookshelf under the bed, and I never touched that pen ever again. So I had this desk in my bedroom, and this desk at the top, so you would sit at the desk like normal, and then at the top above you was one of those like CD racks, so you could put like a bunch of CDs in the slots. So I had, you know, all my Backstreet Boy CDs and Britney Spears CDs and this and that and the other. And then at the end, there was a space probably about that wide. And so, like, you know, like the CD spaces are like that wide, but it's like where they ran out, but there wasn't enough space to do like another one. So there was like this much space at the end. So I just had a stack of CDs that didn't have cases. I just stacked them together. One day, I came in my bedroom and I was looking at something on my desk, and all of a sudden, and I'm telling you, this stack of CDs had been there for a solid like 2 years. Like, I had not touched them. I never played them. They were just there, like I had them. That was it. All of a sudden, one by one, the CDs rolled down and landed flat on my desk. And then once that one settled, the next one rolled out and landed flat on my desk. And I literally stood there in disbelief. Like, I did not believe that this was happening. So the next story that I have is with the same friend that was in the corn maze. So there was this little red house that was located like right down the street from where she lived, and her parents owned it. And so me and her and one of our other friends decided that we were going to go in it, and it was like this old rundown house. So we took the dog and we went exploring this old abandoned house, and we were standing in there and we found this jar in the kitchen that, I kid you not, looked like a jar of eyeballs. Like, it was freaking scary. I don't know what it was to this day, but it was not, it was just gross. Like, the house was so dirty. Like, it was just stuff everywhere. There seemed to be no really order of anything. Like, everything was dusty. And then you get to like the bedroom area, and there's like this pile of clothes and this like creepy photo of like this very unattractive lady drying her hair. I think she was drying her hair. But it's like embedded in my brain. Anyways, it was extremely creepy. So the last place that we hadn't went in that house, like we had went through, you know, the living room and the bedrooms and the bathroom and whatever. So we had not gone into the basement. And so we were like, you know, the middle school kids, oh, we're so cool, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, whatever. So we start walking down the stairs, and we get to the 4th step. We tell the dog to go first because, like, we're like, you know what? If it gets us, like, he's going first. We get to the 4th stair, and I kid you not, this probably 80-pound golden retriever would not take another step on those stairs. Like, we were like pushing him and pulling him and not hard. We were trying to, you know, get him to go on down, and he started ferociously growling and staring down the stairs, and I thought we were gonna die. And so as soon as that happens, we immediately sprint out of there because obviously, you know, we don't want to get eaten by the demon. So my next story is a little bit creepier, I think, just because this is another one of those times, whoop, we're not in focus. There we go. This is another one of those times that I thought I was dead, thought I was a goner, it was the end of my life. The same friend, once again, was over at my house the night before this event occurred, and we had been watching the movie The Ring. If anyone has seen that movie, I don't need to say anything else. And if you haven't seen that movie, you don't want to see that movie. And there's like 3 of them, I think, or 2. I know there's 2. So we had watched that movie with my parents the night before, and the next day I was home by myself, and my mom was at Walmart getting groceries, and obviously my dad was at work, and I think my brother went with my mom to the grocery store. And so, you know, like, I'm just chilling at home alone, and I was in my room playing like this little TV game or something, and I get hungry for a snack. So what does any normal person do when they need a snack? Come to the kitchen. So I was on my way to the kitchen area to find myself a snack, and in my house, hold on just a second, this is serious. So in my house there's a hallway, and there's a chair right here, and this area is the living room, and then if you turn this way, over here is the kitchen area. And so I was, you know, making that turn right there to get something, and all of a sudden I hear the TV click on, and I was so proud of myself in this moment. You know, in that moment I was like, you know, it's just a glitch. Sometimes electrical things like that happen, and like there's, you know, a little charge that sparks and it turns on, like, fine, you know, whatever. So I turned back around, and then, so there's sound playing, so it turned to the TV channels first, and then all of a sudden the sound cuts off, and I turn and look, and I kid you not, the TV has now turned to the DVD screen. So the DVD little icon is moving like this across the screen. So at that point, I'm freaked out, okay? Because that just doesn't happen. So, third time's a charm. I turn again, and then I hear sound, and the Ring movie started playing. I kid you not. And you know when like a DVD will start playing and there's like all these credits it has to go through first? Yeah, no. All that was skipped, and it was literally just playing the movie. And we finished the movie the night before, so it wasn't like, you know, we had stopped midway through. Like, we had finished the whole thing. So at this point, like, I'm like about to, you know, myself. And so I go up to the TV, and my next logical thing was to go up to the TV. Don't know why, like, I would die in a scary movie. And I hit the eject button on the DVD player. So we had one of those like DVD players where there's like 6 DVDs in the little thing, and you could pick like 1 through 6 to play. The DVD was not in the player. I went around 3 different times, and at that point I was out of words. Alright, so this next story kind of still bothers me a little bit. So I used to work at the Martha Washington Inn, and that place, I believe, has been on like Ghostbusters or something, because it's actually haunted. And I worked there for like 2.5 years. And so when you work in a place like that, you kind of like assume that something is bound to happen at some point. I used to work the breakfast shift, and that shift started at 6 a.m. So we would have to be there extremely early. I was always like the first one there, and I would get there about 5:45 in the morning. And so they normally have like emergency lights and stuff on, but for some reason this particular morning that I had gotten in there, like none of them were on, and I didn't know how to turn them on. So I was basically using the light from the window along with the phone light from my screen. So I did not have a lot of light. The way that we used to set things up in the hotel for breakfast was we had a dry area and like a warm area. And so we had all the dry food, like the cereal and the plates and silverware and all that stuff, we could get out before the chefs got there, because it was just, you know, plates and all that stuff. It didn't need to be like refrigerated. And so the chefs had to come and unlock the freezers and all that stuff for us to get the rest of that out. So I would always, when I got there, I would go to the back and I would get it was this tall cart, and if you've never seen one, it's like closed on this side but it's open this way with shelves. And so I would always go back there and get the cart because it had all the stuff on it, and I would go ahead and start setting that out. And for some reason this morning, like, it took forever for anybody else to show up. And so, you know, I'm pulling this cart out, and I realized that I had forgotten to grab the trash can that also was there, because we always put one of those out for guests to throw their like coffee stirred trash away, and like the creamer and stuff like that. And I had realized that I had forgotten to grab that. And so I was walking back, so I took a step. I just left the cart where it was. I was still in the kitchen at this point. And I left the cart where it was, and then I started to head back to the back area where this cart was stored. And all I see is like this 7-foot black figure. And I froze, and I was like, no way. Like, no way is this happening when there are no emergency lights on. I'm the only one here, and it is 5 freaking o'clock in the morning. And so I froze, and I just slightly leaned back, and it was gone. So I went to Emory and Henry College. When you're a college student, you kind of hope that you experience stuff like that because it's cool. So I just got done with one of my classes, and I was walking back to my dorm, and a lot of the stuff on our campus is really old. There was this one building that had old lights hanging from it. It was like very large lanterns, but they were outside lights, and they were hanging from like the ceiling under the awning before you go in the door. One day I was getting ready to go to lunch, coming back from class, and I'm a good, you know, I don't know, 20 yards from this building, maybe 30, and I'm walking back to my dorm, and all of a sudden I hear the light swinging back and forth, which was not abnormal because, you know, the wind does blow. But it's like I knew that it was the lantern swinging back and forth before I actually looked. There was a story about a girl who hung herself from that light, and I kid you not, I saw the girl hanging from that light, and she was wearing this, if I can find a picture of like the dress style, I'll put it right here, but she was wearing like this old blue, just old dress with a blue bonnet on her head. And I remember she had on like the stockings, like you couldn't see her legs, and like the little shoes, like the old shoes. And when I looked at her, there was a rope around her neck. She was obviously dead. Like, I'll never forget her face. And like, because all the color was out, I mean, she literally looked gray. And so she was hanging by her head, and she was just swinging. And it's like, as the lamp was swinging back and forth, it's literally like she had just done it right then and there. I was looking at the lantern, and then I looked away, and then I looked back at the lantern, and it's gone. It wasn't even swinging after that. So the final story kind of plays into the one that I just told you about, the girl, you know, hanging herself. And it was probably a couple days later, I had to go into that same building to actually turn in a paper. It was like my final paper for one of my classes. And we were walking on the bottom floor, me and some of my friends. And so I slide the paper under my professor's door. And then I look to the right, and there's a staircase right there. And I say to my friend, or attempt to say to my friend, is that the staircase that leads to the top. And all I got out was, is that the stair? And immediately after that, I felt like someone had their hands around my neck and was choking me, like I couldn't breathe. And I had to literally sprint out of that building. And when I finally got outside, it's like they let go. And like I was coughing and choking. Like I legitimately had red marks on like either side of my neck. Like you could, I mean, it clearly looked like somebody had been choking me. And it was honestly the most terrifying experience ever, because that's like the only time that something like that has, you know, came in contact. Alright everybody, and this is the final look for today. I really love how this fall glam turned out. I hope you enjoyed. I'm so sorry about this lighting. I hope you enjoyed all of my spooky stories, and if anything like this has ever happened to you, like, let me know below. I want to know your stories. If you've not hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and please do so and join this family. Ooh. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. I post videos every single Sunday, so I will see you guys in my next week's video. Bye!
I realize when we are together there is no more time.